Live streaming of SDR news coverage at HP Discover has been made possible by Intel Corporation. Check out Intel OpenPort IT, where you can connect with your peers at Intel on industry topics, best practices, strategies, and more. And by Microsoft, where HP and Microsoft are working together, combining their respective strengths to deliver innovative technologies to help advance your business.
Welcome to our continuing coverage here at HP Discover. I'm Andy McCaskey from SDR News, and you know, one of the things that happens at HP Discover is trying to add a layer of understanding for a lot of the buzzwords that are floating around in one place for another. In the world of networking, there's no greater buzzword than software-defined networking. And I have Kash Shaikh, who's here to join us. Kash, what is your role in HP Networking?
First of all, thank you for having me, Andy. I'm the Senior Director of Product Marketing and Technical Marketing at HP Networking. So I manage the entire portfolio from the product and technical marketing perspective in data center, campus, and branch, and software-defined networking is one of my responsibility from the strategy perspective.
Yeah, well, yeah, there was a recent, I believe an IDC study that was talking about trigger technology. SDN was definitely one of those, looking to tremendous growth from 300 million to 3.6 billion just in the next 2 or 3 years, I think 2016. And what is software-defined networking?
That's a very good question, Andy, because there is a lot of interest, as you said, in SDN, but at the same time there is a lot of confusion, so it's always good to have the level set. Software-defined networking really represents an inflection point in the networking industry, which promises the elimination of device-by-device configuration. So that's one of the benefits. It is really an architecture. Software-defined networking is an architecture, and it has 3 main layers. The first layer is the infrastructure layer. This is where you have your switches and routers, and these switches and routers now have a standard protocol that allows the access to change the configuration of these devices from a central point.
Okay, so up until now, all of this has been in the firmware of the individual piece of networking gear.
Exactly.
From one manufacturer to another, within different product lines from the same manufacturer.
Exactly.
A lot of work to keep track, just updating that firmware.
Exactly, and you have to know specific commands, the CLI, command line interface for each of the vendor, and the CLI, by the way, is a 40-year-old technology. So you have to know very deep level, lower level commands to configure the network device by device.
So very highly skilled people with specific vendor and model knowledge.
Exactly, and which really in a way creates the complexity and increases operational expenses for the customers.
Well, it's not only that. I would say that if the person who knows this particular switch, if they're on vacation, there's no one that really is familiar with that. If you had to nail up a circuit or reconfigure, that'd be very difficult.
Exactly, very specific skill set needed for the configuration, the manual configuration, which is slow, by the way, as well, because you have to know the commands, exact syntax, go in and type in the commands device by device.
So the hardware infrastructure is one level.
The second level is the control layer. This is where the controller comes in. So the function of the controller is to separate the control plane and the data plane. Currently, both control plane and the data plane is the actual traffic. You and I sending emails to each other, the traffic, actual content of the traffic is the data plane. And the control plane is the intelligence of the network to route the traffic to the right user. Right now, control plane is on each of the device, which is why the configuration of each of the devices is needed. With the separation of control plane to a central point of control, which is a controller, the benefit becomes customers can configure a single device, single point of control to manage the entire infrastructure. All of those switches and routers that had to be configured manually, device by device, can be configured through a single point.
So is this taking control instructions in some graphical interface and then generating command line instructions that go out to the individual components and elements?
Yes, so that's the function of OpenFlow, which is sort of the language between the controller and the switches and routers. So the controller is communicating through OpenFlow, which is a standard-based protocol. And the idea is, since it's a standard-based protocol, each of these layers should be replaceable. So you can deploy an HP switch, which supports OpenFlow, with a controller which supports OpenFlow from any other vendor, and vice versa. You can deploy HP controller on any other vendors who support OpenFlow on their switches and manage through HP controller. But the challenge right now, as you know, a lot of other vendors, they don't have OpenFlow support. We are leading the market from OpenFlow perspective. We have 40 switches in the market that are already OpenFlow capable. This represents 20 million ports out there in the marketplace which are already capable.
Well, HP's been very deeply involved in the whole concept of OpenFlow, correct?
Exactly. So we started working with Stanford in 2007 on the development of the protocol, working with Stanford. And 2008, we introduced the demo software for OpenFlow on our switches. This is 6 years before our competitor even started talking about it, let alone deliver OpenFlow. So we are really excited to be here in this space where everybody is interested in SDN, and we continue to lead the market from the OpenFlow as well as overall SDN architecture perspective.
So now the upper layer is the application
Absolutely.
layer?
Application layer is very important, just like the function of the controller is providing this single point of control. Applications run on top of this controller. So you've simplified the architecture with a single point of control, and then the applications allows customers to solve their business challenges, because northbound from the controller is what we call these open APIs. The open APIs allows the customers to either develop their own application to solve their challenge on our controller, because it's open, it drives innovation, and it also allows customers to, let's say, deploy a customized application delivered by HP. So one of the examples of this application is Sentinel security application, which provides our customers the ability to provide security at the port level. So it looks at the flows, works with our tipping point DB Labs database, and blocks the malicious traffic at the port level. So essentially making the network more intelligent.
Right. Well, and then I could also see where previously where you would have certain ports configured, say for VoIP applications, and then all of a sudden you needed some other configuration. Now you can do that in software.
Exactly. So we have an application just for that, UCNC, Unified Communication and Collaboration SDN application. So right now we are working with Microsoft with their Microsoft Link product, and it provides the quality of service dynamically. So let's say if a user is making a call using Link, it looks at the profiles of the call and configures the network and prioritize those calls dynamically so that the users have best user experience. Because otherwise, what is happening in the network managers have to over-provision the network to be able to provide a good quality of service.
So that flexibility then translates into the lower cost. Is that the primary business benefit?
That's one of the benefits.
Okay, what would some other?
So the other benefits are, one of the biggest benefit that SDN promises is the openness. It frees up the customers to deploy multiple vendors. It avoids the vendor lock-in, because if you stay true to the movement of SDN, you have to deliver standard-based SDN, which is you deliver OpenFlow on the switches, you deliver a controller which supports OpenFlow, you support open APIs. So at each level, since there is openness, you can mix and match.
Right.
You are not restricted to one vendor.
You can tap into the creativity of other developers.
Exactly,
through that
exactly,
API.
Similar to what has happened in mobile applications.
Yeah. So here at HP Discover, I know there have been a number of presentations. What would be one that you would highly recommend for people who weren't here to look up, take the time to look up?
Considering the discussion we are having is really focused on SDN, the session I will recommend is a session that our General Manager and Senior Vice President Bethany Mayer delivered, specifically on software-defined networking, what it is not, and highlighting some of our product innovations in this space. So I will highly encourage the audience to take a look at this session, and the recording is posted. And you can also find out more information on www.hp.com/go/networking.
That was exactly what I was going to guess.
I read your mind.
All right, Kash, thanks so much for joining us. Thanks to you folks for joining us as well. Stay tuned. More coverage, more information coming from HP Discover.